Welcome back to Switch to Linux. Well, today we're going to have a quick look at the OpenSUSE 15, which was just released, and we're going to look at the Leap specifically. So if you are unaware of OpenSUSE, we can actually check out their main website over here. And at their website, you can see that they have a Tumbleweed and they have a Leap. The difference is your Tumbleweed is a rolling release. So this is something kind of like an Arch system where it's always getting its latest packages. It's always getting its latest kernels. Of course, they put in the stable packages. There's a little bit of testing. It's not, hey, something's new, throw it in. And then Leap is more like a Debian system where they release it, it stays very stable for a long time. You can think of this as like an LTS versus the non-LTS strings in Ubuntu is a sort of way to think about it. So OpenSUSE is one of the older Linux distros, and it has a lot of people behind it. It's certainly one of the more respectable ones. You never really see it on my lists of top distros for beginners specifically because it does take a little bit more to get it working. Now, if you want to learn Linux, it is a great place to go. It is an awesome distribution. I actually ran an OpenSUSE Enlightenment desktop a while back. I have some videos on that on the channel you can actually have a look at. But what we're going to look at is Leap was just released. So if you click on the Leap, it's going to send you back to here. They do try and market it for new Linux users, but I disagree. It's not, like I said, I love the distro. It's great. It's just there's too many little tiny things that a new user will get hung up in, unless you're an old hat computer geek and just looking at Linux now for the first time. Not for that. But if you are learning different distros, or maybe you are an experienced computer guy jumping over to Linux for the first time, OpenSUSE is a great place to go because it teaches you a lot about some of the things that need to be done. So if you come on down here, you can see some basic information. One of the things I found is that the documentation was a little bit lacking. If you click on your get, you can see you have the DVD image and the network image. These are for the installations. You can come over here for the live, in which you can download the GNOME or the KDE versions. What I did is I actually downloaded the KDE version, but I actually installed GNOME. And the reason I installed GNOME is DistroTube just did a great video on KDE with Leap 15 KDE. So I decided I'd just go ahead and do mine at GNOME. That way you can kind of get a variety with it. So one of the challenges that I've encountered with this, and I actually checked Derek's video over at DistroTube just to see if he was having the same problem, and indeed he was. And that is when you boot it up. This is the live image, mind you. When you boot this up, at least it's the live KDE image, it does not boot into the desktop like it's supposed to. It boots into a login screen. And that could trip you up. So let's go ahead and talk about how you would overcome that. So what we're going to do here, I'm going to jump on over and show you that screen there. Okay, so here is when you boot the machine up. This is the screen that you get to, and then what happens is when you click into this is it's going to load this up, and then what it's actually going to do is it's going to load into a login screen. Now there's nothing in the documentation about what to do, so I'm going to show you a couple of steps here. Now OpenSUSE has, there's two accounts on this live key. There is the user, which is the username Linux, and there is the root, which is, of course, username root. So if you just type in Linux, we get here, but we can't actually get any further. So DistroTube did the start X as a guess. You'll see that we get errors because we can't run this as that user. So we're going to exit out of this, get back to the login screen, go into root. Now we can start X. This is now going to load up our machine, and with our machine loading up, then we will be able to run the installer. Okay, so here we are booted into the system. We do have a wired connection here. The installation is over here. We're not going to walk through this right now because I've already installed this. It does take, depending on your internet connection with the live key, it's going to take anywhere from 15 minutes to a couple hours because it's downloading about 4 gigabytes of files when you try to install this. So we're going to go ahead and shut this guy down, and then I'm going to boot this back into GNOME, and we will have a look at what that looks like. Okay, so right here we are just about to boot this up. One of the things we'll notice is that the Virtualbox guest editions are working out of the box. I've given the Virtualbox 6 gigs of RAM, 4 processor cores, and we're going to be having a look first at fixing a couple of things. One of the reasons, like I said, OpenSUSE is not necessarily for the basic user is you have to actually configure network settings, and there's a few other items. So here we are on the Gnome Desktop. It is, standard Gnome Desktop. Okay, so you can see out of the box there's really not a lot installed. We do have some games, some system resources. We have our Office applications. Okay, so we are running LibreOffice 6. Firefox should be installed, most current version. Let's have a look at the exact version here. We have 6.0.4.2, so that's good, and everything looks beautiful out of the box. Let's check our spieling. Spieling is set up to work, so let's just go ahead and grab that. And synonyms are set up to work, so that's good. People always ask me about that. That's why I always do that. Everyone's always asking about it. One of the things is that GNOME generally comes with Evolution, which for me, awesome. I love Evolution. I also install Thunderbird usually, so I'll use both of them. And then there's a variety of other applications here. Some of these I don't know exactly what they are. The YAST modules. YAST is the system tool that comes with all of the OpenSUSEs. It is a very wonderful tool because it's pretty much a one-stop shop. You go into there and you can do anything. Of course, the modules are all of the individual menus separately. All right, so let's have a look at our basic settings inside of GNOME. So it does say that please use YAST to configure your network because our network is not set up yet. But overall, everything here is pretty standard. This is going to be whatever you're running with GNOME you're going to get. This is going to be all the same. I did not see actually what are the privacy defaults. So here we have location services off, screen lock on, usage history on, purge trash temporary files are off, so that's your default. Online accounts, here we have Google, Nextcloud, Facebook, Microsoft, Flickr, etc. Of course, we can't access any because there's no internet connection. There's our network. They have this disabled. Use YAST for that. Devices. All right, so let's go ahead and get that network working. So we just want to get into YAST. So I got to spell it right. So YAST is your one-stop shop for everything OpenSUSE. Great application to learn how to use if you're going to be on this. One of the things is that we don't have the maximize minimize set up. That's probably because we are on GNOME here. That's going to be I'm gonna cite that. All right. So what we need to do to get the network working is I got to find network in here. Hey, how about network services? The downside of this is there's a lot of settings. There it is, network settings. It's like biting your face off. All right, so inside your network settings, you boot this up, and pretty much everything in YAST is going to do what it just did. We see this is the network controller. This is indeed the only one I have. Double-click this. Oh, I'm sorry. Single-click it, hit edit down at the bottom. It's been a while since I ran OpenSUSE. I ran about, I don't know, 6 months, a year ago. I think it was about a year ago. So what we're going to do is down here we have the statically assigned IP address. I'm just going to go with dynamically set up. That should give us internet at this point. So we can go ahead and test that.
Hello, people. Use OpenSUSE Leap. It works.
All right. Thank you, Kitty. All right. So let's go ahead and boot up Firefox. One of the things that you'll see as we look at all of the applications here is that all of the applications are going to be current. This is like Debian. You know, when Debian comes out, everything is the most current that you can currently get. But since Leap, they don't do a release, you know, every 6 months or every year, they will eventually fall out of date. So if you need the absolute latest packages, you want to either use Tumbleweed or you want to go with, you know, a method that you can install a variety of different packages. You can see here that Internet is now working. Firefox has a new privacy. That kind of scares me a little bit, but that's all right. Let's go ahead and close that out. All right, what else can YaST do? Well, you can come up here into software. We have add-on, media check, online update. So this is where you might go for updates. So you can see that it's going to go ahead and double check for anything that needs done. Everything here is all patched. So if we hit accept, we're going to go ahead and update everything. Okay, so this is going to need rebooting after installing the kernel, which is acceptable. I don't know why distros don't put the minimize, maximize buttons over here. It's like, I'd like to get this out of my way while it's running, but I'll just throw it behind there. We'll see if let's say that's a good question. Is the tweak tool installed? Yay, the tweak tool is installed by default. That rocks. They know what they're doing at least. All right. Okay, minimize, maximize, and I don't care where they are as long as they exist. There we are. All right. Now we have minimize and maximize buttons. That's pretty good. All right. So it's, let's see, it's 5% done. So maybe I shouldn't have done that while I was running this because I can't go on to the other items now as well. So this is, each one of these items will actually tell you what it does if you hover over it. So here's install or remove add-on products, install or remove software packages. This is your software repositories, so you can manually add software repositories to it here, or you can take some out. I'm going to hopefully not break the updates. It may give me an error because the updater's running. Yeah, so it's failing because we are running it in the background. We're running updates in the background, so we won't be able to have a look at that. Basically, it's just replacing. You can see all the current repositories. You can add repositories, take things off, whatever you want to do. Under the system, this is where we have a variety of different items. We have kernel settings. Again, we're not going to mess with that because we're updating things, which is including the kernel. It's one of the downsides is when you push the update, the kernels are updating with it, so that could introduce some system instability. Generally, on Leap, it probably would not introduce anything because it's set up to, it's going to go ahead and set itself up to be as stable as we can. Here's your bootloaders, language settings, network settings, partitioner, so basically runs the disks, configuring fonts, dates and times. Let's see, network services. These are all a variety of different service-related things. If I'm remembering correctly, I'm pretty sure that my network is probably not working out of the box either. Yep. Let's see if I can remember how to fix that one. It's been a while since I've done that one. Oh, not that one. Samba server. Okay, let's go ahead and set that up during boot. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to configure this. I need to look up network settings and things. We're just going to go ahead and do that. And I don't know, it might actually work. Who knows? that was for the button that I accidentally clicked that I should not have. Okay. Okay, so VPNs, gateways. Under security, we have AppArmor configuration, firewall, sudo security centers. Okay, so it tells us we need to reboot the system as soon as possible, but it doesn't force us to do it. That's a great bonus. So that's just something to keep in mind. We could probably do that and see if that actually helps. See if after I set up the Samba system, see if that works. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to go ahead and reboot the system and see if that'll get me back to functionality there. Okay, so we've been through Yast. Let's just double check if I was able to get that working. Like I said, I'm not sure I'll be able to get the network working, but maybe it will. I should actually see all my network shares. But yeah, there's a couple extra steps there that I need to look up, different server settings. Everything else on the system, this is what you would expect from a GNOME-based distro. We have our basic utilities. We have your basic utility things, your weather, videos, text editor. Of course, we have our software center still. We can install things with the software center. We can install things with Yast. Just kind of to pick the one you're used to. If you're used to distro hopping, you'll probably want to use the software center here because it's consistent throughout all of the different distros. But if you're trying to learn different things, you can also install software over here in the software management. Do our package groups. Let's look at games. So you can see here, this is behaving very much like Synaptic Package Manager. Networky stuff, publishing tools. So again, if you're not used to this type of interface, you don't know exactly what you're looking for, you're probably going to want to use the Software Center because it's a lot more user-friendly than this is. But if you know exactly what you're looking for, this is generally the best way to go. So here, if you want to install Audacity, you can just go ahead and click it over here, hit accept. So that is how you can install some software 2 different ways with this system. Okay, we have GIMP installed. Let's see if we get the newest GIMP. Nope, we still get 2.8. 2.10 is out. And what else? There's a couple games there. I don't know what a few of these applications do. Some of them are games, so there's several games. Here's your package sources, maps, basic utilities. Everything in there is pretty standard. So there we are. Of course, here on GIMP, single window mode. Not sure why I have not made that default. All right. So there's OpenSUSE Leap. What you get out of the box, you'll get a system that has some stability. It's not the most user-friendly. There does appear to be something wrong, at least with the live KDE download, where if you do have that, you can't figure it out. Just type in root, then type in start X, and that'll get you to, that'll get you going where you need to get to. I didn't test the GNOME live key, so take that for what it is. It might be the same problem. It might not be. What you get, of course, with OpenSUSE, it's an older application, very well polished. You can see the theming on this is very nice. On this build, of course, it just pretty much looks like GNOME, so I'm not sure you'd even know it's OpenSUSE if I didn't tell you. But and they did kind of keep it as out of the box vanilla GNOME as they could get it. Everything including turning off your minimize and maximize buttons. So it is a pretty pure GNOME experience. Of course, with OpenSUSE, you get Yast for doing all of your configuration in one place. Great distro to learn Linux for that. Not the greatest for a new user, but if you are anxious to learn and you're willing to look stuff up, there will be a lot of online sources to help you along. You can install Pack Manager to it if you're used to that. So OpenSUSE is definitely a win, but I would put it as the as a distro for the more advanced user, or not necessarily advanced, at least intermediate though. You don't want to be a beginner diving into OpenSUSE. But it does work very well. It's a nice system. Once it gets up and running, it generally works. I have a belief that the reason mine died on me is because I was running the Enlightenment desktop and I didn't run updates pretty very consistently, and I think they stopped supporting the Enlightenment desktop. I really think that that's what caused my system to crash. I don't think you would, any typical user would have that same experience. So definitely, if you're up for a challenge, if you've been on Linux for a little bit and you're looking for something new, you're up for a little bit of a challenge maybe, you have to learn a little bit more. OpenSUSE is a great distro. Once again, you have the Tumbleweed if you want the rolling release, always updating, or you have the Leap if you want to have that stability and the core system. So in other words, if you're trying to build something that like my media PC here that I'm using to record all these on, you definitely want to go with something more like Leap, because you need that stability. I can't have the thing updating every other day and then come in and wonder why OBS has died. Not a good thing. So keep those in mind as you are thinking about the distros that you want. So thanks for watching the video. You can help support the channel at switchtolinux.com/support. There's all the ways you can currently help support us over there. I am on Patreon, patreon.com/TomM. You can help support me over there. And if you do want to get something like a t-shirt, a coffee cup, something like that, check out shop.switchtolinux.com and you'll be able to pick up some items over there. So thank you for watching. I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.